In this video, I'm going to share with you the 5 main themes you can expect to experience for tonight's full moon on February 1st, 2026. It's a very encouraging full moon, I must say. It's going to encourage you to really own your voice, allow yourself to shine, try your best, go for it. A lot of times people have beliefs and conditioning and past experiences that cause them to minimize their impact in the world and prevent themselves, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, from really being their fullest self. And this full moon, as I mentioned, is going to encourage you to do that. It's going to help you become aware of maybe some of the ways that you're stopping yourself from doing that already. Now, with that said, as with any full moon, you might find that you feel just kind of out of sorts. You might feel hypersensitive. You might feel like your mind is racing. You might just feel like you're having trouble grounding in and gaining your bearing. That's okay. That's part of it. That's part of the transformation. That's part of the almost alteration of your consciousness, which allows you to have the life-changing insights, the brilliant breakthroughs, and just the fast forward moving spiritual and life progress. So with that said, I can already tell I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back it up a little bit. I will go ahead now and get into the video and again break this full moon down into 5 more specific grounded themes. Theme number 1, I wrote down clearing a path for your bright future. Sometimes with full moons, it can seem kind of like random, almost pointless drama, chaos, inner turmoil, anxiety, confrontational experiences, whether it's with people or just your life, just hiccups, challenges, bumps in the road. And when it's happening, it can seem, again, kind of pointless, random, inconvenient oftentimes. You might also find that you're reacting more intensely than you would normally because it's a full moon, because you're feeling so sensitive and sort of cracked open. And it can just be kind of a burden. It can be like a thing to endure. But what I said before is a path is clearing for your bright future. So in this case, and also many times in other cases as well, I will say, this is not pointless chaos. This is exactly what you need to heal, to look at, to experience, to recognize, to acknowledge, to experience, so that when you step into your new role, whatever that might be, whatever your future looks like, you can do it where you're not still lugging around the past, lugging around the old beliefs, the old conditioning that, if left unchecked, if remaining unconscious, would probably in some way disrupt what you're about to do. Take my wife, Patty, for example. She's run, 15, 20 or more retreats over the last 7 or 8 years. She's very comfortable running retreats. She loves it. She's confident. She's a wonderful leader. She's really grown a lot as she's done it. And we have one coming up in July. And this one's unique because her brother's coming. Never before have we had a family member come to anything we've done work-wise like this. And my wife has been saying that in her dreams, in her thought, in her waking conscious awareness, there's been a lot of memories and feelings surfacing that go all the way back to her early childhood that pertain to her being like the youngest. She was the youngest of 5. So, growing up, as you can imagine, she felt her voice was never really heard, never really taken seriously. She was always like the annoying little kid, bothering the older kids and things like that. So all these old feelings, all this stuff has been coming up for her. But she's about to run a retreat with her brother coming there. So it's better that this all comes up now, right? So that when she's running the retreat, she's not battling with all these this old conditioning and these old feelings and these old dynamics and energies. It's important for her, for her brother, for the group of people there, that Patty shows up on point. It's important that she's not going to be self-sabotaging, creating unconscious mistakes because she didn't do her inner work prior. You see, so that might be happening with you. So if you're having some internal stuff come up, just trust. It's better now Even if it seems inconvenient, it's much better now than it would be in the future. Now, the same exact clearing effect can also take place on an external level with your life situation. Another example, I just ran into this guy at the gym just like an hour ago. This old Muay Thai kickboxing trainer. He was there for some reason, and I was talking to him, and he was telling me how just recently he was training somebody in his house or in his like apartment, and the landlord, for whatever reason, decided to tell him that he can no longer train people in his apartment. It was like a problem, right? This is like where he trained people. This is like where he ran his business. This was his livelihood, and all of a sudden, he's not allowed to do that anymore. On paper, initially anyway, it looked like, oh wow, this sucks. This is not good. What am I going to do? But this caused him to start going out and training people at their houses, in the parks. Maybe he can raise his prices. So the point is, something happened. So a sort of a problem occurred. Initially, at least seemed that way. But in the end, it was actually leading him to a better situation, a more expansive situation, maybe even more money, more clients, because now people don't have to travel all the way to his house. He's going to them. So it's also good to like trust the problems and hiccups. If there are any, you might not have any, but if you do, you can choose to experience them in a positive way by simply recognizing that there are no accidents. This is something that's kind of a blessing in disguise, and it won't be long before you see just how big of a blessing it is. And nonetheless, it's going to help clear away what's no longer relevant, what you've probably outgrown energetically, so that the new, more expansive, more aligned situation can manifest. Number two, as I mentioned, you will feel, maybe you won't feel this way, but the way I would put it is you're being encouraged to shine, encouraged to be your best, biggest, most authentic self, even if you're met with resistance, even if not everybody understands you, even if not everybody agrees with you, even if you're pissing people off, which sometimes can happen. There are many side effects to someone shining, all dependent on a particular individual and how they choose to interpret it. If you really shine, you're going to find that some people are inspired by you. Some people will see that and think, oh, wow, they're doing it. Maybe I can do it. So you allow people to gain confidence in themselves. Now, you might be shining in the exact same identical way, and then there's somebody else over here that feels small. It makes them feel inferior, and then they may have something kind of negative to say to kind of bring you down. Or it can just be uncomfortable. Like for me, I've been noticing, because I train martial arts so intensely, but I'm not really a fighter. I just do it kind of for fun, but I take it very seriously. I've gotten, in the recent 3 months in particular, I've gotten a lot better. I can say that honestly, and I'm proud to say that. And now the trainer's always commenting on that. Wow, Vic, look at that right cross, things like that. But when he says that, I don't hate it. It's nice of him, and I know he means well, but I get so embarrassed. I get so self-conscious. It makes me feel extremely uncomfortable and like very like weird almost. And I catch myself sometimes almost not trying to do a bad job, but almost like really kind of like clenched up and hesitant because I don't want to stand out. So that's coming up for me to look at. That's just another of the many examples. You might have your own version of that, very, very different most likely, where you're being made aware of your own tendencies to stop yourself from shining. The reality is, I trained hard. I should allow myself to improve, shouldn't I? Of course I should. If you've mastered something, you should allow yourself to put it out there in a big way. Why not? Well, we have our reasons, and this full moon is going to do a great job of helping you discover yet maybe another layer of why you're still not allowing yourself to shine. Maybe you're afraid. Maybe not afraid, but maybe you don't want the responsibility. You know, when I got onto YouTube, for example, and I started to like grow and reach a lot of people, there is all of a sudden like this awareness that, wow, not that I have to be careful and fearful, but I have to be very mindful of what I say, because there's a lot of people that are going to hear it. And some people trusted me, and they're going to like take what I say to heart. And it's not something to be taken lightly. It's a lot of responsibility. It's not like this easy, no-brainer thing anymore. There's a lot on the line here. So that's not just with YouTube, of course. It's with anything that you really pour your energy into. Sometimes there's a fear of responsibility. A lot of times it's a concern that you're going to trigger the people around you. If you start to change, grow, shine, transform, what does mom and dad and sister and brother and all your relatives and all your circle and your neighbors and your coworkers, what are they going to say? This isn't you. What are you doing now? Oh, you're on a new kick, are you? Oh, okay, whatever. Everyone does it in their own way, but no one wants to deal with that. That's kind of a weird, awkward situation. And all you are doing is just trying to be yourself here. Nonetheless, people react. And it's not our job to manage that, which is what most of us learn to do in early childhood. We either manage ourselves to avoid it, or we learn to manage other people in some way. We try to have a sense of control over how folks are going to view us, think about us even, talk about us. And it's a maddening, pointless, exhausting game that's taking time and energy away from you just doing your thing, being yourself. Why not just be? In fact, there's a whole thing in Adlerian psychology. It talks about people's tasks. It's a very simple framework for understanding what is your business to be aware of and worry about and think about and be mindful of, and what is not. The good news is a lot of it that we do and try to manage, it's not our task, as I believe Alfred Adler would say. For example, what people think of you, that's their task. It's my job to be on top of what I think of you, what I think of the world. That's me, that's my opinion, based on my beliefs, my past, my history, my consciousness and unconsciousness. Unburden yourself. You don't got to worry about me. And I shouldn't worry about you, but I do sometimes, don't I? And you worry about other people sometimes, don't you? And the full moon is coming here to say, this is a silly game you're playing here, and you don't need to be playing it any longer. Just be. That's all. I'm not saying be great, you better be good, you better do a good job. No, just be. That is the invitation right now. And how liberating it would be if we could do that. Number 3, your relationships deepening. Now, this will likely be the result of you changing, being more yourself, being more open, being more honest, being more authentic, being more vulnerable. For a while in my life, because like a lot of you, I didn't like to upset people. I didn't like it when I was the cause of others feeling uncomfortable. I would avoid such encounters. But as you know, it only makes things worse. But luckily, I got myself later in life into a situation where I was like a boss. I had employees, and I realized very quickly I had given no choice, basically. And I got to this point one time where an old friend / client that has worked with me for many years, eventually I hired them. They were retired in their own career, and I hired them to be like an assistant at my old gym. And this woman was so cool, such a bright spirit. But she was come to find, she was overqualified essentially, and she was taking it upon herself to do a lot of things I wasn't asking for. And really what I needed was I don't know, a high school kid just to kind of take simple orders and just kind of do what I said in this particular case. But it just wasn't who she was. She was like a leader. But anyway, it got to a point where I realized all this, and I realized this was just not going to work. And I will never forget the day the day I decided to fire her on, basically. That whole day, it was like this heavy weight looming over me. And I went to work, I trained all the different clients, and the whole time it was just on my mind. I knew at 5:15, she's gonna walk in that door, and I'm gonna have to go up to her and somehow pull her aside and break the news. She didn't know it was coming. And my God, it was just It was just a really, really uncomfortable experience that I wish to God there was a way to avoid, but there wasn't. And I did it, and she was cool about it, and that was that. And that experience showed me like, oh, a lot of times these setting boundaries with people, speaking your truth with people, etc., it's not nearly as bad as we make it out to be in our minds. Sometimes we underestimate how people are going to respond, in fact. And even if they do, again, that's their task. Nonetheless, regardless if you agree with anything I just said, you're going to find yourself kind of like, you ever see that show Long Island Medium with Teresa Caputo? She's a medium, right? And what'll happen sometimes in like everyday life, she'll have this a spirit, an alleged spirit, contact her and basically say, "Hey, I know that person. They're they're like my, there's someone I know. Deliver them this message." And she'll feel this like strong feeling like she's got to do it. And you'll watch her on the show, and she'll start like she gets like, she'll start licking her lips, and she gets all kind of funny, and like it's almost like she's just got to say it. She has to get it out. There's like this buildup of pressure, this buildup of tension. And you might feel that as well. Like it'll become increasingly difficult to not be yourself, to not speak your truth. It'll seem pointlessly draining. It'll be shown to you just how much resistance, in the end, the grand scheme of things, it creates by not being yourself. And this sounds like bad. Oh God, I gotta set some boundaries, have some uncomfortable conversations, open up. Maybe, maybe not. This is gonna be you. This is your own. This is a general reading, obviously. But nonetheless, the result of that clear, authentic, honest communication is safety. I have a close friend, Aaron, and we have a relationship where he knows if anything is on my mind, anything is bothering me, I will tell him. In fact, this happened. We were sending voice notes back and forth, and he said something that kind of like triggered me a little bit. And I had an emotion. I sat with it. And I eventually reached out to him and explained, like, "Hey, bro, just so you know, what you said, it kind of like rubbed me the wrong way. And here's my perspective." And then he shared his perspective. And turns out I misunderstood what he meant. But nonetheless, like there was no buildup of energy and problems and drama. It was like, oh, I didn't like how that felt. I'll express it to him. So my point is, he knows if I don't say anything, then we're good. And I know if he doesn't bring something to me, I'm good, because we're comfortable expressing ourselves to each other, even if we might run into like an opposing opinion, or maybe he's like, "Well, I meant what I said," and that tough crap. Fine. I was ready for that. I feel okay with that. And the point is, that's why we have a very deep brotherly bond, because it's founded upon this open and clear communication. So I'm just giving different example, obviously. None of this is to be taken like literally for you, but hopefully what I said, some of which anyway, will resonate with you, what you're meant to hear out of all that. And again, the result of that, this sort of maturation of us and how we relate to other people, is a deeper level of connection, safety, and openness with those we care about the most. Number 4, you might find yourself just getting really not good ideas, but brilliant insights, like insight about yourself, how you tick, your motives, how you could benefit, what could improve your life. Could be simple things, little simple shifts, or big aha moments. Nonetheless, this full moon, amidst maybe the chaos, you might still feel a little bit like, I don't know, ungrounded. Like for me, for example, all day I've just felt off. I felt like my mind has been just faster than normal. My thoughts have been more out of control than I'm used to. And it's been kind of like, it's taken a lot more mindfulness than usual to stay grounded and stay present. So you might have your own version of that. You might feel fatigued. You might feel kind of like ungrounded. You might feel, very emotional. Whatever your version of that is, within this sort of soup of, intensity, this pressure cooker, a lot of times that's where these brilliant insights about our life can emerge. And you'll be getting insights that are going to help you now improve your life, improve your sense of balance maybe, but also your future as well. The full moon time is a good opportunity to recognize any imbalance in your life. For example, I hear all the time from entrepreneurs and creators. They ask me, they say, hey, Vic, what do you think about AI? ChatGPT. How often do you use it? In what ways do you use it? Because they're trying to find their balance with it. There's this awesome tool that can speed up a lot of stuff, but it can be a slippery slope where if you dip too far, you rely on it too much, you lose yourself. And it's like you feel like an imposter, you feel like you're cheating, and that's no good. At the same time, not to use it all is kind of like, wow, you're going to be doing a lot of busy work unnecessarily because you could accomplish what you're trying to do in 10 seconds, 5 seconds, really. So where's the balance? And I always tell them I'm still learning, and that's okay. And right now is a good time to be learning. I had a therapist, Doug, that once said, he said, Victor, I'm balanced maybe for 1 second per year. Like, really, Doug? 1 second per year, bro? He said, I'm never balanced, is what he was saying, but I'm always balancing. This full moon is going to give you valuable insights into how you can balance your life. Maybe it's with your food. Maybe it's with your a lot of people would do this with exercise. When I was a trainer, now that I'm thinking about it, I would run into this situation where people would kind of fall off the wagon, and New Year's would come and they'd party and they'd eat and they'd drink and they'd gain like 5 pounds. They'd show up, January 8th feeling like horrible. And they'd show up and they'd say, okay, I'm committed to running a marathon next month and I'm going to start running 5 miles a day and I'm going to start doing this and I just bought these new shoes. And there's like these swings, right? And then what happens? They get injured, they burn out, and then it's like this thing like this. This is a time to gain insights, but also in particular to help you live a more balanced life. More is not always better. There's a middle way, moderation, and that requires more presence, more mindfulness. And even sometimes it's appropriate to go big and to go all in. It's not about, there's no system, there's no philosophy. It's about just being like present and self-aware. And when you're like that, you can reflect upon your past when you need it. And you can just sort of like have a more masterful, skillful, as they say in Zen Buddhism, way of navigating your life. And all of what I said, I know is kind of like all over the place in this particular theme, but generally this full moon is going to help you with that. Live a more skillful, masterful, present life. And if it's more balance you need, you'll become very aware of where the imbalance is, and then you can rectify it. If it's an insight, a little tweak in your lifestyle that you need to become aware of, that'll make itself known to you in almost kind of like a friendly, here you go sort of way. So enjoy it. It's you deserve it. It's okay. It's like a time of allowing yourself to receive like the helpful, sometimes magical little assistance from like the universe. And number 5, getting closer to the core of your true purpose in life. There's this book I read a while back by David Dieta, and he talks about this now it's kind of like a cliche term, a life purpose. But it's a real thing. All human beings, at least in my opinion and in my own personal experience, there is a real sense of purpose. And a lot of people don't have that. Now, a lot of you watching probably do kind of. But what David Dieta says, I forgot to mention, he looks at the life purpose kind of like an onion. There are layers to your purpose. For example, many years ago, it was my purpose to run a personal training gym. I was helping people reshape their bodies and get fit and improve their health. And, that was my purpose. But as I continued to grow and expand and shed the layers of my conditioning, another onion layer sort of fell away. And then I realized, I want to help people in an even deeper way. I want to help people transform their consciousness, navigate their awakening process. I'll start a YouTube channel. Fantastic. Well, Then another layer peeled away, and I thought, you know what? I can only do so much from my YouTube channel. What I want to do is coach people. I started coaching people, and that turned into me running retreats, and it's gone off, and it kind of goes on like that. And I say this because if you have found yourself deviating from your core purpose, you will be shown that. Or you might be shown a deeper, a deeper yet to be discovered layer of it, which is very exciting. It might imply some change. When I became aware that I wasn't really meant to be a personal trainer, it implied, well, now you got to find out what you do want to do. And you're going to have to start from scratch at something and start over. So it's not always easy, but it can be done. The cool thing about the sense of purpose is there's a lot of support. A lot of it's not tangible, not immediate. It doesn't, not in a way where it satisfies your anxieties and your mind and your concerns necessarily. But nonetheless, it's like when you go towards your purpose, you could say you are more aligned with, you're more in harmony with like the whole. And then the whole can support you in like infinite ways, quite honestly. And you can kind of sense it. It feels like you have a lot of good luck. You just tend to run into the right information, the right message, the right thing at the right time. And life can work and flow much more synchronistically when you do this. And good news, because sometimes these transitions, it can temporarily make your life situation seem a bit precarious and up in the air. But there's this increase in support. Now, what can also happen is if you kind of like start to neglect your purpose, or like rationalize not really going for it and committing to it in a very real way, then you might start to notice a lack of support. This happened to me like 6 months ago. I became kind of complacent, you might say, with my purpose. And like dominoes falling, boom, 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 boom. A lot of things in my life started to kind of shake, you might say, my foundation. And I knew it was because, I stopped doing what got me here in the first place. I stopped really taking my purpose seriously. I started resting on my laurels, essentially. So regardless, the universe wants us, I believe, doing our part. Whatever that might be, big or small, it's all equal because we're all connected and part of the same big, massive, infinite energy, essentially. And it's like, if I'm doing my thing to the best of my ability and you're doing your thing, then everybody wins. But if we're not, your universe is going to make you aware of that. But the good news is, my friend, we're allowed to make mistakes. We're allowed to go off track. It's okay. We all do. It's part of life. It's part of this game we're playing here on Earth. And so many people, when this happens, they like think, oh man, I messed up. They get down on themselves. Don't worry. All human beings make mistakes. And so allow yourself to make mistakes as well. We act from the level of consciousness we're at in the moment. And that level of consciousness, it oscillates. If you catch me after a big meal, I'm in like a low state of consciousness. If you catch me after some breath work and some meditation, for a little while there, I'm operating nicely. But nonetheless, that's not sustainable because I got kids, I got a life, you got a life, we got things going on, things bringing us down, things pulling us out of our presence. We're all doing our best. The important thing is that you can learn from this full moon. You can learn a lot about yourself. You can learn a lot about what's been holding you back. You can accelerate yourself going forward as you tend to all these things. Take advantage of the insights coming and really use this opportunity to live your best life.